All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. The New York Football Giants are coming off of a 3-14 campaign, but you'd be hard pressed to understand that based on the schedule that the NFL just gave them for 2025. The Giants have been one of the worst teams in the NFL in recent years. But their upcoming schedule resembles that of a team who maybe has won the last two Super Bowls. You look at the Giants' schedule and unpacking it. I mean, six of their first eight games on this upcoming season will be against teams that made the postseason last year. The Giants' first two games of the season, we're talking about road games within their division. Week one at Washington, week two at Dallas. And what did the Giants get for their home opener in week three, you ask? Well, they're only going to host the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the premier teams in the NFL. They've won three Super Bowl championships since 2019, and they've had five appearances in the big game over that stretch. In all, we're talking about 10 of the Giants' 17 games for the upcoming season will be against playoff teams from the previous year. And this is in spite of the Giants, being one of the worst teams in the NFL a year ago. Again, the Giants were 3-14, and they had to fight, scrap, and claw to get those three wins. And we saw this team pick third just a couple of weeks ago in the NFL draft. Nonetheless, they will enter the season with the toughest schedule in the league based on their opponent's winning percentage from 2024. But why are the Giants going to have to face this gauntlet, you ask? I'll tell you like it is. First and foremost, NFC East plays AFC West this year in inter-conference play. And with that said, we're talking about the AFC West, who just sent three teams to the postseason in January. We're talking about the Chiefs, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Denver Broncos. Also within the NFC East is going to have to face the NFC North. And just like it was with the AFC West, the NFC North sent three teams to the postseason last year. And once you put the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings into the equation, both of those teams combined to go 29-5 during the regular season. And then, of course, there's the NFC East, where you've got to deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, who not only just won the Super Bowl, but they beat the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship game to get there. So that just goes to show you how good that this young Commanders team is. All right. So I get it that everybody's got to play each other at some point. The NFL, I get it that the Giants' schedule is tough. They didn't do them any favors by putting them through this gauntlet in week one. They've got, like I said, they've got to go to Washington week number one, week two in Dallas. And Dallas is going to have extra rest because Dallas is facing Philly on the road in on Thursday Night Football to begin the year. You always know it's customary for the defending champ to get the first game of the year. And then, like I said, first two home games for the Giants are against the Chiefs and Chargers. So you ask, could the NFL have spread this out a little bit more for the Giants? Maybe. Uh, the NFL really couldn't have made their schedule any easier because, again, it's based um, like first and foremost, you got to play six games against your division. We all know that. It's always one conference or one division rather from the opposing conference that you face each year. The AFC West last year was no joke. You're not always going to have a layup facing maybe the AFC South or something like that. And then you got to deal with the NFC North, which is no joke either. So I'm looking at it. There's no freebies in the NFL. I totally get it. But if you're the Giants, okay, and they're not the only team that's going to be facing some adverse situations this year, because you look at the teams who quote unquote have the hardest schedules going into next season based off of their opponent's strength of schedule from last season. You got the Giants, you got the Bears, you've got the Lions, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. And of course, the Eagles are the defending champs. Some would say, okay, maybe they're a little bit better equipped to deal with this. But then you've got the Cowboys, Bears, and Giants three teams that did not make the postseason last year. Okay, so the Giants aren't in um, this bunch, to say by themselves, if that makes sense. But nonetheless, I'll tell you like this: if you're Brian Dayball and company, I think this could be the perfect time for you to go out there and get your team going out there with an us against the world mentality. And the reason why I say it is this: there's a lot of people who don't expect that much from the Giants this season. A, because they're going to look at their schedule, and B, the Giants haven't done much in quite some time. We're talking about a team that since they last won the Super Bowl at the end of the 2011 season, they have only been able to produce three winning seasons, two trips to the postseason. They last got to the postseason in 2022. But nonetheless, since 2016 or after the 2016 season, the Giants have only finished higher than third in the NFC East one time. So, of course, from the outsider's perspective, there's not a lot of optimism there. However, with that said, you still got to go out there and you got to play your games. And I think if you're Brian Dayball, okay, because a lot of people feel like Dayball's job is on the line, and maybe the same could be more than likely is going to be the same for Giants general manager Joe Shane. It's one of those where I think you got to go out there guns blazing. I think you got to go out there loose as a goose and playing with house money. And again, nobody's expecting anything from you. But just because nobody or a lot of people are not expecting anything from you doesn't mean that you can't go out there and overachieve. I mean, every single year, regardless of the sport, there is always at least one team that overachieves. There's always at least one team that underachieves. So if you're the Giants, you got to say, hey, you know what? Why not us? But again, it's May. A lot can happen between now and September when the NFL season starts. And then, of course, there's always a lot that can happen during the season. Like I always say, this is one reason why, some people, and that they're more than entitled to do that. They'll try to give you, a team by team breakdown right now, record wise, as far as how they see things shaping out for the upcoming NFL season. I totally understand it. Okay. But when it's all said and done, my philosophy is this: there's always a couple of key injuries each year in training camp where guys are lost for the season. There's always one or two, maybe a couple more key injuries for teams around the league in the first couple of weeks of the season. So, like I said, more than likely, you're always going to have the expected contenders there, your Kansas Cities, your Philadelphias right now. I totally get that, your Buffaloes. But when it's all said and done, anything can happen, and that's what it boils down to. The NFL basically can say, "Hey, any given Sunday, anything can happen." But it's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, the Giants appear to be an improved team so far this offseason. Clearly, we all know Russell Wilson is expected to enter the season as the Giants starting quarterback, barring any injury, and of course, at some point, he'll give way to Jackson Dart, who the Giants drafted in the first round this year. Whether that's going to be during this season or maybe the Giants are successful enough that Dart spends the entire season on the bench. We don't know. We have to wait and see. Okay. But then I think their defense should definitely be improved because I like the acquisition, if you want to call it that, of Abdul Carter, and you're going to have more pass rushers on the field with the likes of Carter. Of course, you've got Dexter Lawrence, a defensive tackle. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau, and you've got Brian Burns. So I think for the Giants to have some success, that they are going to lean on their pass rush. Their pass rush has to be on point. What are they going to get out of the running game? You have a rookie in Cam Scatterbo that people are high on. You got Tyrone Tracy, you got Devin Singletary. What are they going to get from them? And year number two for Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. So at the end of the day, like I just said, you still got to go out there and play the game. It's May. The Giants know that theoretically it's not an easy schedule on paper, but at the end of the day, you've got to go out there and you've got to make it happen. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you in the NFL. Bottom line is you got to go out there and take care of your business. So guess what? The odds, quote unquote, might be stacked against the Giants, but let's see what happens for them for the upcoming season. We've seen teams who've had easy schedules, okay, not get it done. We've seen teams who have had hard schedules, find a way to navigate through and get it done. So we got to wait and see. But nonetheless, let's see how Big Blue responds to this for the upcoming year. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, immensely appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365, and you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media, just like it is for the X, talking about Twitter. You can also check me out on Instagram at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. You give me that follow, I will give you that follow right back. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.